The AVM Special Report.
Is there a crisis in the oil industry, as the Oilfield Workers Trade Union maintains? The union is convinced there is a crisis and sees evidence of this in the drastic reduction in manpower levels, which it says will take place at the Trintoc Pointe-a-Pierre refinery as part of the current improvement program. Crisis may be too strong a word to describe the present state of Trinidad and Tobago's most important industry. But certainly, the energy sector is facing some serious challenges and has not yet recovered from the misfortunes of 1986, when oil prices collapsed and the production decline began. The two major problems that confront the industry in Trinidad and Tobago today are firstly, increasing the level of oil production, and secondly, eliminating the losses in the refining sector by making higher valued products. Both are crucial questions. Low oil production means less government revenue and a depressed economy. Refinery losses mean wasting assets and a poor product slate that could lead to failure to retain established markets. Oil production has been stuck at about 150,000 barrels a day for the last 3 years. While this means that the decline which began in 1986 has at least stopped, stagnant production is small comfort at a time of fluctuating prices and future uncertainty. With oil such an important part of the national economy, the more that can be produced, the better for Trinidad and Tobago. However, the relaxation of the oil tax system in 1988 has not yet been translated into higher production as was hoped at the time. In fact, our biggest producer, Amoco Trinidad Oil Company, forecasts even more rapid decline from its own wells over the next 4 years. Amoco is predicting that crude oil production from its existing fields will fall to 42,100 barrels a day by 1994, 30,900 barrels a day below last year's production. That's a loss of about 556,200 United States dollars a day at present prices, a matter of major importance for both the country and the company. The only solution to falling production is to find new sources of oil through exploration. The present Energy Minister, Senator Herbert Atwell, has launched an intensive program of oil exploration in new blocks, both on and offshore. 3 new exploration initiatives are currently in train. In the S11 block off the south coast, the lower reverse L block off the southeast coast, and the southern basin on land in South Trinidad. 2 more offshore blocks, 89-2 and 89-3, will start to be explored after licensees are named in the near future. But will this effort, time and money, produce any oil at the end of it? There is no guarantee of that. Ask Amoco. It drilled 4 exploratory wells in the last year and turned up dry holes on each occasion. Ask Trinma. Its S670 well in the offshore Soldado field, in which much hope was vested, failed to flow in the expected commercial quantities. However, Minister Atwell seems confident that the extensive exploration effort will eventually produce new oil.
But I do think that there is a general kind of optimism that something is around the corner, and as it must, because if you have the S11, the reverse L, the U block, the southern basin, we have 89, 3 and 4, something will have to happen, hopefully soon.
You sure about that?
I am keenly optimistic, keenly optimistic.
Oh, how will you feel if nothing turns up at all?
If nothing turns up, we will have still accomplished a lot. We would have accomplished a lot by way of technology because of the foreign partners. We would have accomplished a lot by training. Our own people would have become more experienced and put them in a better position to deal with that in the future. We would have had employment opportunities. The spin-off effects in the industry would have been manifest. So it is not ever, in my view, a lost kind of cause.
Minister Atwell is even prepared to stick his neck out and say where he thinks a substantial new source of oil will be found.
I think the best prospects for increasing the production would be on the Southern Basin Consortium, the best prospect. Now, having regard to the seismic work which is being done, and having regard to the El Furial find in Venezuela. One can only guess at this stage. I would say that one of the southern blocks would probably be the best, but your guess would be as good as mine at this stage. But we remain very optimistic that one of those blocks will in fact be a good one. And the Soldado 670 well, which looked so good initially at one stage, gives me the hope that we're going to find something coming across there.
So you're thinking in terms of what, 5,000 barrel a day, 10,000 barrel a day kind of field? What you're looking at?
Well, the more the merrier.
Patrick Manning, the leader of the opposition PNM party and a former Minister of Energy, seems just as optimistic as Minister Atwell.
Yes, I have been saying that for years. In fact, you will very well recall that in 1983, I think it was, I indicated that on the basis of a statistical analysis that we carried out in the Ministry of Energy, that there was a substantial source of oil yet to be found, and we believed it to be deep on land. And in fact, the deep exploration on land is something that I had been looking forward to for some time. You will also recall my past statements about Cretaceous oil and so on and so on. Really, oil at deep levels, and the southern basin, incidentally, is an area in which there has really been no deep well. The deeper horizons have not been properly tested, deeper in terms of geologic age. Those horizons have not been tested. And I, for one, hold great hopes for a major discovery in the southern basin.
While Minister Atwell is expecting good results from the new leases, he recognizes the importance of encouraging the older companies to continue to perform. This applies particularly to Amoco, which for the last 17 years has been providing Trinidad and Tobago with the bulk of its oil supplies. Although it has had disappointing results recently, Amoco still has almost 2 million acres off the east coast in which it can mount further exploration programs. But will it do so? Has the recent run of bad luck caused it to become disillusioned with Trinidad and Tobago? We shall examine that possibility shortly. Amoco's withdrawal from further exploratory drilling this year suggests that it may have become frustrated with its recent succession of dry holes. But Atwell disagrees. He believes Amoco is still happy with its operations in this country and is genuinely committed to the local oil industry.
Up to yesterday, I had Mr. Dasso in, and we chatted for a short period of time. And we have been having ongoing discussions with Amoco as to their plans and what they intend to do. But as you know, all of this is linked to budgets, and it's linked to how Amoco sees their own participation and their overall allocation. I am assured that Amoco are doing as best they can, because after all, the more they find, the better for them and the better for Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm not too worried about Amoco's position as much as I'm worried about the overall effects of the decline. And that is why we must buttress that by the other efforts which are being made.
Well, have you tried to encourage Amoco to continue with the exploration program, which they've in a sense called off, at least as far as 1990 is concerned?
Yeah, well, I have spoken to the Amoco people, not only locally, but about a month and a half ago, we had one of the senior people down for one day, and we discussed that in some detail. And I am fairly confident that we will be able to get them to make the necessary budgetary allocations to continue next year.
You don't get the impression they're getting a little disheartened? They've drilled 4 exploratory wells within last year, and all 4 have turned up nothing.
Yeah, well, risk is one of the elements in this kind of business, and Amoco understands that as well as anybody else. So I don't have a sense that they're disheartened at all. I have a sense that they're committed, and I have a sense that they would want to do as much as they can for obvious reasons.
Former Energy Minister Patrick Manning, whose relations with Amoco were cordial during his time in that portfolio, says it's natural for the company to reassess its position after a succession of disappointments.
With any company, whenever you have a run like that, your next step is you stop and you review. Perhaps it is that your geologic interpretation needs review. So you look at that. You look to see whether you can reinterpret your seismic data on the basis of technological advances, and you look to see what new information you can acquire that can cast a slightly different light on the particular perspective that you now take of the geology of the area. That is normal. That is normal. At the same time, as you expend money on exploration and you do not discover oil, then the cost of your operation goes up. And you begin at the same time to look at the tax structure in relation to your own profitability. Now, that aspect of it I'm not too familiar with at this stage, since I'm not directly in the system itself. I'm pretty sure they're doing that too.
Even if oil production does recover in the near future, the problem of the refining sector will still remain. This is as serious a matter as the stagnation in production, because the refinery sector employs the largest single number of people in the oil industry. It also earns a substantial amount of foreign exchange by supplying products to regional and overseas markets. But those markets have begun to disappear because the refinery's main product, fuel oil, is no longer in great demand, and competition from alternative fuels has driven down the price. What the two Trinidad refineries have to do is switch to producing products that are in greater demand and produce them as cheaply as possible. This means a major re-equipment program involving more machinery but fewer people, and this is what worries the OWTU so much. The refineries in Pointe-a-Pierre and Point Fortin now employ several thousand people, and the OWTU fears that hundreds will have to go. We put the question squarely to Senator Atwell. Will hundreds of oil refinery workers have to go?
It is easy to make public statements without the benefit of facts and information. The position of the government is quite clear. The refinery, and I don't need to explain that to you, but the refinery is oriented to fuel oil. It produces, it is heavily oriented to fuel oil. We have to look and see what does the market want. We have to see what we can supply. We have the refinery, it is under capacity. We have to compete with the rest of the world for the North American market. We therefore have to do something about the refinery, and this was known not now, this has been known for the last 12 years. So what the government has decided to do is that they decided to upgrade the refinery. And this decision is in order to put the refinery in a position to get higher valued products for which we get more money. Now, if we upgrade the refinery, nobody in authority, neither Chintalk nor the government, has said that we're going to lay off anyone. In fact, what we will do is perhaps guard their employment, because if we remain as we are, we will come to a standstill because we cannot get anybody who will buy the products that we wish. So it is a simple, straightforward case, and the question of laying off people as a result of the upgrading doesn't arise. What has to happen is that Chintalk must have its company lean and mean. Chintalk must have its company well organized, their systems must be good, the profligacy must be addressed, and the company must produce profits, not losses. And in doing so, it must address all of the things that go into the balance sheet, into their accounts. It must address its transport, it must address its administration, it must address its directors, it must address its all of these things and trim it itself in order to become competitive.
In practical terms, the degree of retrenchment will be determined by the way the upgrading exercise is handled. The AVM Special Report will be back shortly.